This is Easy Delivery Co., a driving game where you go around delivering packages in flawless condition, all while of course following the road rules. But as we make deliveries around the region's snowy mountains, something strange is happening with its residents. Something very, very strange. Easy Delivery Co. is a game created by Canadian developer Sam C., which started development after the completion of their university project called Chosen. Chosen is a first-person shooter that focuses on using grappling hooks to do things such as steal enemies' weapons to use against them, as well as using them to platform around the map. My back! Originally, Easy Delivery Co. started out as a split-screen racing game, which as you can see, later evolved into a delivery game instead. You can actually still play the original concept of this game through a demo released on itch.io, which is, although pretty janky, but it's still pretty cool to check out. Which started out as me wanting to play a simple driving game on stream, Easy Delivery Co. really captivated me with its world and the secrets hidden within it. So without further ado, let us check out Easy Delivery Co. We arrive in the Mountain Town region on the outskirts of Upton, which is one of the free cities that you can visit in this region. It is here where we play as an unnamed delivery driver who just started working for EasyCo, with our choice of transport being a pickup truck, or to be more specific, a K-truck. A K-truck is a style of pickup truck originating from Japan that is known for its small size, fuel efficiency, and relatively affordable price. The specific truck that our K-truck is modeled after is the Honda Acti, which is a K-truck that was in production from 1977 to 2021. The gameplay of Easy Delivery Co. is pretty straightforward. You accept jobs from the shopkeepers, pick up their packages, and then you deliver them to their destination. The further away the package is from its pickup point, the more money you are paid for the delivery. There are 12 shopkeepers in total that you can meet throughout the game. All of their shops, of course, are run by EasyCo. The first two characters you'll most likely talk to are Tui and Ada, who both run the only shops in Upton. Tui is a chill elderly man who works at the restaurant Easy Eats, and Ada is a socially awkward florist who runs the Easy Flowers shop. After completing our first delivery, standing near the Easy Flowers shop, we can find a dog humming to themselves by an open campfire. Getting out of our truck to speak to them, they notice that our map is missing data, with it only showing the town of Upton. Offering to fix our map in exchange for an energy drink, we drive over to the nearest vending machine, grab an energy drink, then return to him where he fixes our map, revealing 2 other cities in the area, and he also ends up deciding to let us keep the energy drink in the end. He then introduces himself as MK and reveals that he used to do maintenance for EasyCo, which explains how he knew how to fix our map. MK then invites us over to his cabin for a cup of coffee, which is located in the Snowy Peaks region. However, driving over to the tunnel that leads to Snowy Peaks, we find out that the tunnel has been obstructed by a pile of fallen logs. MK suggests that a lighter should do the trick of getting rid of the roadblock, so off we go to earn some money to buy one. This is generally the gist of how the story progresses, where eventually you hit a roadblock that halts your progress until you have saved up enough money through doing jobs to buy the item or upgrade that you need to continue. Below the city of Upton and located towards the western part of the map is the city of Weston, a reasonably sized city containing the most shops in the region. Running the Easy Bakery is Ellie, which according to her, apparently people call her the crazy one, which checks out cause then she admits to taking a bite out of one of the packages. What? Nearby the bakery, running the Easy Depot is Fortino, a pessimistic character who has a crush on Ellie, but doesn't quite have the courage to do anything about it. Easy Depot is also where you buy the lighter, as well as a variety of different items as well. Running the 2 bars in town are twin brothers Fives and Sixo. Fives being relatively normal, while Sixo's dialogue consists of him making interesting money-making tactics. I have a huge business idea for you. Picture a vending machine that sold other vending machines. Great, eh? The final shopkeeper that you can meet in Weston is Fit, who works at the Easy Cafe, whose dialogue pretty much consists of him flirting with us. Also, his goodbye message is, "Love watching you walk away." Uh-huh. Yeah? That's kinda weird. Don't say that.
Oh my, don't say that!
The last city that you can visit in the Mountain Town region is the city of Easton, which is located at the bottom right of the map. Now, of course, as a delivery driver, your vehicle needs fuel. And where do you get fuel? That's right, the gas station. The place where you can not only fill up your fuel tank, but also where you can buy the most questionable looking hot dogs known to man, which after consumption may or may not make you see shit. Ever eaten a hot dog that transports you to Silent Hill? I have. It's not great. Ever taken a shit in Silent Hill before? Have you seen the bathrooms in that game?
The aroma, the pungency.
Running the gas station in Easton is Gus, a grumpy dude who with every visit will insult you for even daring to refill our tank. Oh, and he also charges you up the ass for it. By the way, did I mention that we are getting paid below minimum wage for this job? Yeah, that aspect in combination with the ridiculous prices of fuel and other items that you can buy, it does make it take a little bit longer to save up funds that you need to progress the story. After leaving the gas station, here in Easton is where we can meet the 4 remaining shopkeepers. Running the Easy Pizza joint is Foreman, which just like Tui is also an elderly man running a restaurant, and he also really likes fishing. Also, judging by the way that they talk about each other, Tui and Foreman both currently seem to be beefing. Next to the gas station, we can visit the Easy Mart, which is ran by Theo, whose main personality trait is being performative, with them mentioning how he does things such as 3 hours of meditation, and also how he's reading feminist literature.
Ain't nothing like a good story.
Easy Mart is also where we can purchase an assortment of different goods, pretty much like Easy Depot. The last 2 shopkeepers that you can meet here are Reed and Cece. Reed runs the Easy Auto Shop, which is where you can buy and install upgrades for your truck. He is also very forgetful, struggling to remember things a lot of the time.
I just forgot everything.
Finally, running the pawn shop is Cece. Here is where you can buy blind bags for $50 each to either get hats or a fresh coat of paint for your truck. He is also a very paranoid person, being overly suspicious of pretty much everything. The birds. They run away when I approach them. They know I'm onto them. I don't think they're real. Unlike many other games, the in-game map does not have a map marker that pinpoints your exact location. Now at first it may feel a bit inconvenient, but I ended up finding that it makes the game a lot more fun, as it forces you to memorize the roads, landmarks, and terrain, which of course memorizing your surroundings prevents you from staring at your map for the entirety of the game and lets you focus on driving. After becoming acquainted with all of the shopkeepers, a common topic of conversation is that we apparently look identical to someone named Seb. What we learn about them through our conversations with the shopkeepers is that not only was Seb a delivery driver just like us, but we also learned that MK and Seb were very close friends. One of the shopkeepers that we mostly hear about Seb from is Reed. Seb, being a delivery driver just like us, most likely used to visit Reed at Easy Auto a lot for maintenance on their truck. According to Reed though, before Seb left, he said something to them last time that they saw each other. However, Reed can't remember for the life of him what that something was. Tui mentions that when we first arrived here, to him it felt like just yesterday that Seb was doing deliveries. However, he suspects that a very long time has passed since then, maybe way longer than everyone can remember. Where exactly did Seb go? Did something happen to them? And what did he tell Reed before he went away? As you can see, the location that Easy Delivery Co. takes place in is pretty snowy, described by the game's Steam store page as having inhospitable weather. The temperatures here being so freezing that if you stay out in the cold for too long, you will quickly freeze to death. Though, after you have frozen to death, instead of simply respawning, something strange ends up happening, and, to be honest, caught me pretty off guard the first time seeing it. You wake up in a dark labyrinth that is referred to as either the Death Maze or the Endless Halls. The only item that you have on you is a pocket lighter, which you use to light your way through the darkness. The Death Maze seems to either be randomly generated or have different locations that you can spawn in, as the paths are always different each time that you arrive here. While in the Death Maze, there is not much that you can do, as there isn't an end goal or anything that you can find here, so your only option is to wander around the maze until you eventually respawn back to where you were before. Something interesting about the Death Maze though, aside from the maze itself, are the sounds that you may hear while you are there. The sounds that we hear gives us the impression that we are unconscious, yet we can still hear what's happening around us in the outside world. A few of the sounds that you may hear while you're in the maze are the sounds of an old computer booting up, while other times you may also hear the sound of someone pulling up in a truck or setting up a campfire, followed up by a voice trying to speak to us. Shortly after hearing the voice, we are then spawned back into the world, which can be assumed that someone helped revive us. The person trying to revive us while we are in the death maze is most likely MK, and there are a few reasons why I believe that is. Our first indication that it is him is through the sound of someone setting up a campfire. Why we associate campfires with MK is simply because for most of our interactions with them throughout the game, he has always sat next to a campfire waiting for us to talk to him. Our second indication that it is MK is the sound of the truck. As mentioned by MK himself, he used to do maintenance for EasyCo. Him doing maintenance for EasyCo could mean that he may also have access to a pickup truck just like us to help him get around the regions to do maintenance work. Finally, the last reason that indicates that it's him is the voice that we hear in the death maze. In Easy Delivery Co., the characters all pretty much talk like how an Animal Crossing character would, with them sounding like a bunch of fast-paced nonsense. Now, while all the shopkeepers' voices sound the same as each other, MK's on the other hand sounds slightly different from the rest of them. Aside from being sent to the death maze, there really isn't much consequence for dying in this game, as you don't lose any money or energy for passing out, so dying pretty much feels more like an inconvenience, or, well, I guess, a way to creep you out, I guess. Also, I kinda find it funny how you can die by staying out in the cold, but you launching your car off a ramp and then crashing and burning? That's all good, mate. She'll be alright. One of the things that makes Easy Delivery Co. shine are its characters. All of the shopkeepers that you meet are all unique from each other, not only with their character designs, but also their unique personality traits that makes them who they are. As you continue to make deliveries for them throughout the regions, you can't help but become attached to them, especially watching how they all grow as people with each interaction. Some examples of personal growth among the shopkeepers being Ada coming more out of her shell despite her social anxiety, Tui and Foreman making up despite their beef, and we even get to watch a romance blossom between Fortino and Ellie as Fortino starts building up their courage to talk to Ellie. Even the shopkeepers as a whole since our arrival start eventually growing closer to each other as well, with them all starting to hang out regularly at Sixo's bar. Overall, the vibes I get from Easy Delivery Co. are very cozy, and while there are a few survival elements thrown in there, the game boils down to being a simple driving game. Although you do have jobs and packages to deliver, there is no time limit or deadline you have to deliver them by, allowing you to take your time and deliver at your own pace. To me, the vibes of Easy Delivery Co. reminds me of a late night drive. There is something just so relaxing to me about driving through the dead of night, and it could be because of the lack of traffic or pressure to be anywhere on time. Late night drives are a moment of solitude that really puts me in a cozy mood, especially in combination with relaxing music playing in the background. The characters of Easy Delivery Co. are really what made the game for me. Although eventually I reached a point where I had more than enough money to purchase what I needed to progress, I couldn't help but end up neglecting the main story to continue doing jobs because simply I fell in love with the characters and watching them all grow as people just felt nice. However, as we continued to keep making deliveries for them though, something strange started happening to them. Something very, very strange.
Greetings. My joints seem to be freezing up. I am feeling sleepy all the time. I'm sure I'll get better with rest.
After talking with the shopkeepers enough times, they begin to start showing error messages within their dialogue before they eventually go offline, pretty much like how a machine would. Once offline, the shopkeepers enter a sleep-like state, where their dialogue consists of them stating a serial number and automated responses, before replying with EasyCo's motto, "Have an easy day." Are all of the characters in this game machines? Are we also a machine? Or are we in the Matrix? A clue that we can find to better understand what is going on can be found through our conversations with Reed. In one of our earlier conversations with him, he mentions that he has something to tell us, but initially doesn't remember what that is. As we continue to progress his dialogue through doing deliveries for him, he eventually remembers that Seb was telling him about something to do with EasyCo's programming, mentioning things such as SD units and something called the cluster. In our next conversation with Reed after this, it is revealed that the cluster refers to the shopkeepers themselves. Before Reed could tell us more though, he begins to malfunction before he eventually goes offline. From what we can tell so far, all of the characters seem to be computers or machines, and they are also all part of a cluster run by EasyCo. Now, you may be wondering what a cluster is. Well, let me try to explain. A cluster is a group of interconnected computers which individually are called nodes. These nodes all act together under a network to work as a singular, reliable, and more powerful system, which in the real world can be used in research to help with complex tasks such as scientific simulations, and they can also be used to help train AI models, all at the cost of setting fire to an entire rainforest. One thing that you may have noticed upon entering any of the shops is that all of the shopkeepers have their own computer terminals. At first glance, you may think nothing of it, perhaps thinking that the computers are probably there to do shopkeeper computer things like, doing taxes or fulfilling orders or whatever. But with Reed's mentioning of EasyCo's programming, SD units, and the idea that all of the shopkeepers are machines in mind, I theorize that while we see the shopkeepers as they are, the computer terminals are what actually controls them, acting as the control center for their memories, emotions, and thoughts. After making enough deliveries and saving up enough money, we are now able to buy the lighter from Fortino, which we can use to burn down the logs blocking our way to Snowy Peaks. Okay, it's not going as well as planned. Help! With Snowy Peaks unlocked, we now have access to doing intercity deliveries. These jobs, although take longer to complete, they do, however, give you a much higher pay, where instead of getting $10 for delivering a package, with intercity deliveries, you will get $15 a package. Well, I guess I'll go fuck myself then. Shortly after arriving in Snowy Peaks, we make our way to MK's cabin. Upon speaking with him, MK greets us and apologizes for the mess, mentioning that it's been a while since someone had last visited, that someone most likely being Seb. MK, after making us a cup of coffee, then tells us that we can brew coffee as well as tea ourselves using a cooking pot, which you can buy from the Snowy Peaks Easy Depot. To use the cooking pot, what we need first is a campfire. To build a campfire, you need 2 blocks of firewood that you can buy from either Easy Mart or Easy Depot. After you have finished placing down the blocks of wood, you can now go ahead and ignite it with your lighter, where now you have a nice spot to keep you warm temporarily while outside of your truck. Once the campfire is set up, you can now place a cooking pot on top of it, where you can either throw in coffee powder or tea bags, which after brewing will either give you 3 cups of coffee or 2 cups of tea depending on what you are brewing. Aside from brewing them yourself, you can also buy coffee from Fit at Easy Cafe or tea from Ellie at Easy Bakery. However, it is more efficient and cost-effective to just brew them yourself. With that said, I am lazy, so I'm just gonna continue buying from Fit. Shut up. MK then reminisces a bit on how we remind them of their friend Seb, and how they used to like drinking coffee too. Before we head off to continue making deliveries, MK warns us that Snowy Peaks has treacherous terrain, and that we will need to buy snow tires before we start driving around the region. The roads in Snowy Peaks, as you can tell, are heavily covered in snow, and if you try to drive through the snow without the snow tires, your truck will get stuck in place. Once stuck, you either have to respawn your truck to get out of the snow, or you can get out through sheer willpower. Once you have purchased the snow tires, we can now explore the snowy terrain of Snowy Peaks. Waiting outside of Easy Auto, we once again meet up with MK, who lets us know that they'll be heading to Fishing Town, which we can get to through the tunnel near Easton, which MK also mentions that he needs some help with something once we get there. But before we meet up with MK at Fishing Town, I decided to do a few deliveries around Snowy Peaks to learn the area, as well as earn a bit more money. Snowy Peaks has 3 cities that you can visit, with one of them having an upper and lower level. Upon entering any of the shops in Snowy Peaks, one of the first things that you'll notice is that although you are in a different region entirely, all of the shopkeepers are the same as the previous region running their respective shops, with their dialogue all continuing from the same point as how they were from the previous region too. At first, this may seem odd, but taking into account that the shopkeepers are machines, a possible explanation for them having exact copies of themselves in an entirely different region is because all of the characters' memories are most likely saved on a cloud server hosted by EasyCo. Clouds are online servers that can be used to store and manage data over the internet rather than it being stored locally on your device. With all of the shopkeepers going offline, it could mean that there might be something wrong with the servers running the cloud system that's storing their data. After learning Snowy Peak's layout, we start making our way towards the Fishing Town region. On our way there though, something that we can do now is explore off-road in the Mountain Town region now that we have the snow tires installed. Being able to drive off-road allows us to take shortcuts for faster deliveries, as well as gives us access to a few hidden secrets hidden throughout the map. There are 16 snowcats that you can find in the game, and interacting with them will reward you with a bobblehead of a certain character that gets placed on your truck's dashboard, which you can see when you go into first-person mode. The other thing that you can discover off-road hidden throughout the regions are bunkers. These bunkers contain things such as pictures that appear in MK's cabin after picking them up, while others contain scarves that your character can wear. The bunkers are pretty unsettling, especially the ones with the mannequins posed in front of the flashing computer terminals. Like, why? Who did this? Is there a deeper meaning to this, or is someone fucking with us? Either way, that's creepy. What I find interesting about the bunkers though is that the ones with the pictures seem to be storerooms, while the ones with the scarves seem to look like office spaces. It also seems that the bunkers have already been used a long time ago, considering the state of them and how little supplies there are left. During a conversation with Tui, he tells us a little history about the area and how things used to be like when he first arrived here. In the old days, there were such beautiful colors on the mountainside. When I moved in here, almost everyone was gone. Seems like just yesterday. Long ago, there was once a time when the town wasn't affected by the cold and harsh climate, and when the colors of the sky wasn't just an endless gray. Perhaps the regions used to be more populated, however, due to the harsh weather conditions caused by climate change, either everyone moved away or they all got wiped out, leaving only the shopkeepers or machines. How the regions reached this point of environmental decline can be traced back to EasyCo, with the majority of its effects on the environment may have something to do with their AI model. Some of the shopkeepers, when they are starting to go offline, may mention something to do with EasyPredict. EasyPredict is an AI model developed by EasyCo that uses AI to predict what products people want. Hear me out. A delivery service that automatically predicts what you want and...
Welcome to just over 87 years. Have an in your day with EasyPredict.
Data centers for AI models are known to use a lot of electric energy, creating huge carbon emissions, and not only that, but they also use massive amounts of water for cooling their systems. The high usage of resources to power AI data centers of course heavily impacts the environment, which in turn leads to climate change and global warming. How this affects the setting of the game includes foggier weather, more harsher blizzards, and below freezing temperatures. Descending down the Mountain Town region and then going through the tunnel, we arrive in the Fishing Town region, where we are stopped in our tracks by a large security gate donning the EasyCo logo. Standing in front of the gate and waiting for us, we speak with MK, where he tells us a little bit about the region. Apparently it used to be a bustling fishing village before EasyCo took over the hydro dam, which they have blocked off the whole area for everyone but employees and locals. This pretty much killed all businesses in the area, except for the ones owned by EasyCo. It's very plain to see that EasyCo has a monopoly over the entirety of the regions, with every shop that we've been to, all of the shopkeepers, and even the vending machines all being run by EasyCo. Who knows? Maybe the birds are run by EasyCo! MK needs our help to infiltrate the dam in order to get some supplies that he needs. For now though, we have to actually get into Fishing Town by opening the security gate. To open the security gate, according to MK, we need to reactivate all the local radio stations, with him explaining that it's a strange failsafe implemented by EasyCo. Throughout your trips around the snowy regions, there are a few radio stations that you can visit, which you can spot in the distance by the glowing red lights at the top of the radio towers. Activating the radio stations are not only just a requirement to open the security gate, but once activated, they also unlock a new radio station that you can tune to, with each radio station specializing in a different genre. Driving around the Snowy Peaks region, we can visit the Snowy Peaks radio station. This radio station requires you to climb 2 sets of stairs to reach the top, so it is recommended to drink tea before attempting to activate the station to withstand the cold. After reaching the top and then activating the radio station, something that I noticed as soon as I got back to the truck was a path that we can take to the right of the station. Driving down the path and going up the hill, we can find a snowcat next to a pickup truck, which interestingly pretty much looks like ours. Interacting with the snowcat, we find a bobblehead, which at first could be assumed to be of us. However, thinking back, a few of the shopkeepers have mentioned that we look identical to the last delivery driver, Seb. Something to get a grasp on how identical we look to Seb can be found from one of the photographs that we can find in the bunkers. The photograph shows a picture of MK and Seb, and the resemblance to us is pretty uncanny. This leads me to believe that this could be Seb's truck, and the snowcat, could it actually be Seb? What are the snowcats really? From what we've seen, all of the shopkeepers have duplicates of themselves running the shops in each region that all share the same memories. It could be possible that the snowcats could potentially be duplicates of the shopkeepers that have shut down in the snow, which is why I suspect that the snowcat here could be Seb himself. With all of the local radio stations activated, we return to the Fishing Town region to open the security gate, where we find MK waiting for us on the other side. As MK had mentioned before, he needs our help to infiltrate the hydro dam to get some supplies. Right now, however, access to the hydro dam is guarded by more security gates, and that we will need to purchase a bumper bar to smash through them. If you try smashing through the gates without purchasing the bumper bars, you'll be pathetically stopped in your tracks, and you look like a fucking loser. Before we head off to continue doing jobs to afford the bumper bars, MK informs us that the large security gate is once again closed, so intercity deliveries are unfortunately unavailable. This means we won't have access to those higher paying jobs until MK gets the gate open permanently, which will of course make saving up for the bumper bars take a bit longer. The Fishing Town region has the harshest weather compared to the other regions, having blizzards that greatly reduces your visibility, forcing you to drive at slower speeds to not hit or miss anything. As Fishing Town was once a bustling fishing village before EasyCo took over, one of the things that we can do here is of course go fishing, which you can do after purchasing the fishing rod from Easy Depot. In order to fish, you need to get to an ice shack which you can find sitting on the frozen lake. After setting up the fireplace to stop ourselves from freezing to death, we can now start fishing. The fishing mechanics are pretty much like Animal Crossing, where once you see the bobber go down is when you reel your line in. Once you have caught a fish, you can either continue to fish up as many as you can to try and break the game, or you can drop it into your cooking pot to cook it into some fish soup, which restores your energy as well as gives you resistance against the cold.
My final message. Goodbye.
After saving up enough cash to install the bumper bars, we can now smash our way into the hydro dam. Entering the building, we find ourselves in an elevator where we make a long descent down to the lower levels of the hydro dam. We arrive in a dark storeroom, where at the end of the room, we find a pair of handheld radios, which are assumably the supplies that MK needs. Before leaving the hydro plant, searching around the shelves, you can discover a hidden pathway. Following the path, it leads us across multiple bridges that guides us to a lone computer terminal. Interacting with the terminal, it plays a transcript of what seems to be MK's last interaction with Seb.
Seb, no, what's happening? Why? Do you remember when this place was full of life? Even Seasons of Decay later, somehow you convinced me to stay. Don't let me endure this desolate wasteland alone. How cruel it is to let us feel when our time together was fleeting from the start.
From what we've gathered so far, the computer terminals in this game are potentially the characters' minds. If this is correct, then it can be assumed that this computer terminal could belong to Seb, and what we just listened to may have been the last thing that Seb heard before he shut down. One interesting detail about this transcript is that we find out that Seb's serial number is DD77. What makes his serial number noteworthy is the fact that our serial number is DD78, which is what we are referred to as by the shopkeepers when they start to go offline. It could be possible that we are a replacement unit for Seb deployed by EasyCo after Seb shut down, which could be an explanation on why we look pretty much identical to him. Returning to MK with the handheld radios, we find that he has managed to keep the security gate permanently open, allowing us to continue doing intercity deliveries. After thanking us for getting the radios, he then gives an explanation on what has been going on. According to MK, it seems that with every day that passes, the shopkeepers have started to become more and more ill, with them getting worse since we started doing deliveries. This could mean that us progressing their dialogue may have something to do with them going offline. MK then assures us that they don't blame us at all, saying that all of the shopkeepers have grown so much since our arrival, and that we have given them all reason to keep going. MK has a plan in mind that could potentially help them. However, we first need to buy the ice chains for our tires from Easy Auto, which is the final upgrade that we can buy for our truck. After making enough deliveries, we buy the ice chains, which increases the traction of our tires, allowing us to drive on frozen lakes. If you try driving on the frozen lake without the ice chains, your truck will not be able to build up enough speed to outrun the cracking ice that chases you when driving on top of the frozen lake. Passing through the tunnel in Weston, we arrive in the factory region, where we spot MK waiting for us near the tunnel, and right behind him we see a large structure towering over us. MK tells us that it's a straight shot down to get to the factory, and that he will radio us once we are inside. MK then goes on to say that he would come with us if he could, but his programming doesn't seem to allow him to do that. Speeding across the lake and then crashing our way through the gates, we enter the factory and make our descent down the elevator. We arrive in an area that is reminiscent of the hidden pathway we walked down in the hydro dam. Shortly after our arrival, MK radios us in to instruct us on what to do.
Do you copy? Great. Try to find a control center. Hey, I never got your name. I'm sorry for all this. When you started up, I really thought Seb had come back. Seems like EasyCo really has shut down cloud-computed agents for good. Seb and I were friends. Good friends. They were a little rigid around the edges, but we became as close of friends as two ML agents could be. Seb supported my dream of one day leaving this place I thought was terrible, but I think their heart was here with the shopkeepers. They saw each other a lot more through the deliveries. I was just fixing things in the background. Seb ultimately gave up their job to be with me. After Seb shut down, all I wanted to do was to join them. That's why I was trying so hard to get into the factory. But it's been really nice seeing the shopkeepers blossom into their own selves. All I want now is to keep them safe, for Seb, even if it means rebooting them.
What we learn from this conversation is that EasyCo had shut down cloud-computed agents. What this means is that because the cloud hosting the cluster that the shopkeepers are on is shut down, this is causing them to run into errors. It could be that the shopkeepers are running on what data they currently already have, but because we are progressing their dialogue while the cloud is shut down, they are unable to send or receive new data to it, which is possibly what's causing them to error and go offline. Something else that we find out from this conversation is that MK and Seb were ML agents for EasyCo. ML is an abbreviation for machine learning, which is a subset of AI where computers can learn and improve from data rather than being programmed. How ML agents could be used by EasyCo is that by us going around making deliveries, we are also collecting data for the company, which is potentially fed into their EasyPredict AI model. MK wants us to get into the factory to reboot the shopkeepers as he doesn't have the ability to do so himself, and how we do that is by accessing the control center that is found somewhere in the factory. One final thing that we learn is that Seb was shut down after they stopped working for EasyCo. This could mean that because Seb was no longer of any use to the company, he was most likely shut down, and we are deployed here as his replacement. Eventually, we walk across a long straight path, where underneath lies a multitude of server racks. Reaching the end, we find a computer terminal with numerous cables sprouting out of it. These cables are most likely hooked up to all of the server racks within the factory. Upon booting up the terminal, we are given a couple of options to choose from. Selecting SD units, we are shown a list of serial numbers, these serial numbers all belonging to the shopkeepers within the regions. In this list though, something that caught my eye was the serial number SD72. What's interesting about this serial number in particular is that none of the shopkeepers that we have met are assigned with this serial number. In fact, the only character who hasn't had their serial number revealed is MK. This could mean that MK would be a part of the SD unit cluster that all of the shopkeepers are on. Choosing to reboot the SD units, the terminal gives us a warning mentioning that some personality may be lost. With our decision made, we hit reboot.
Do you copy? It looks like you didn't need my help after all. You've brought our friends peace. For now, I'm the only one who will ever know. I'll look after them with great care. It just doesn't feel right keeping them in this cycle. There has to be another way.
Reopening our save file and visiting the shopkeepers, we find that their dialogue has been reset, speaking to us just like how they did when we first met them. To understand what we have done, think of rebooting the SD units as turning your computer off and on again when it starts playing up. What this does is refreshes your computer back to a working state before it started showing errors. In this case, what the reboot ending does, it basically reboots all of the shopkeepers back to a point before they started going offline, which is pretty much before we started talking to them. Though rebooting the shopkeepers fixes them, the fix, however, is only temporary, and it's only a matter of time before they need to be rebooted again. This, however, isn't the only ending we can get. Returning to the factory's control center and then selecting hydropower, we are shown the status of the 4 turbines that generate power for the hydro dam. After a brief warning, we then shut it down. Returning to the cities, we find out that all of the regions no longer have power. With power no longer running, not only have all of the shopkeepers, including MK, become completely lifeless, amenities such as vending machines can no longer be operated, and all of the radio stations are down, leaving you in a cold, empty silence as you drive through this harsh, snowy landscape, more alone than you were before. Now, you may be wondering, with the hydro dam shut down, why aren't we affected? Well, I have a couple of theories on why that is. One theory that I have is that while everyone else relied on being powered by EasyCo's hydro dam through their computer terminals, us on the other hand are powered by biofuel, with the way that we can live off of energy drinks, coffee, and soup without the need of a computer terminal. The other theory that I have on why we aren't affected by the hydro dam shutting down is because we are a part of the DD unit cluster rather than the SD cluster that everyone else was on, so maybe our terminal might be elsewhere, which isn't powered by the hydro dam. Finally, the last theory that I have is simply, we are just built different. I mean, we could be a newer model than the other characters, meaning that we can operate mobily, so maybe we simply don't need the hydro dam or terminal to operate. Although choosing to shut down the hydro dam feels like getting the bad ending, is this ending truly all that bad? All of the shopkeepers will need to be rebooted again if their dialogue progresses, so instead of keeping them in an endless cycle of being rebooted, why not just end it once and for all and give the shopkeepers peace? From what we've seen from the control center and weighing out our options, we can either reboot the shopkeepers to fix them temporarily until we need to reboot them again, or we can shut them down and finally let them rest. In the end, both of our options to try and help the shopkeepers aren't really that great. Is this truly all we can do? Thankfully, there is one final option. In our last conversation with Reed, one of the last things that they say to us before they go fully offline is, "We can be restored." And something that you may have noticed before making a choice on EasyCo's computer terminal is the text saying, "Recovery disk unavailable." This recovery disk could be the way to fix the shopkeepers. Reed must have been told about the recovery disk by Seb, which maybe was what he was trying to search for, but was shut down before he could find it. But where is the recovery disk? Visiting the pawn shop in Easton after completing either the reboot or shutdown ending, we can find a new item for sale, a recovery disk being sold for $300. If you have chosen to do the reboot ending, unless you have hoarded a bunch of cash throughout your playthrough, you will have to do a few jobs to pay for the disc. However, if you have chosen to shut down all of the shopkeepers, you will not be able to purchase the disc from CC at the pawn shop, as he will not be able to take your money. However, that does mean we can steal it. Who's going to stop us? Not them, that's for sure. Returning to the factory's control center one last time, we are given one final choice, and that is to recover the SD units using the recovery disk. A recovery disk is used to restore an operating system back to a stable state, while also not affecting data files on a hard drive, meaning that by using the recovery disk on the factory's terminal, we can restore the SD units back to normal, while also keeping their memories intact. With the SD units restored, returning to the cities, we find all of the shopkeepers are now back online, most unaware of what was going on, some feeling as if they were having a bad dream. From here on, we can continue making deliveries as normal, now being able to engage in more conversations with the shopkeepers, becoming more closer with them as a whole. Visiting MK at his cabin, he is overjoyed that we have managed to help everyone. With that, he has hope that there is a backup of Seb out there, and entrusts us with looking after the shopkeepers before heading out. Returning to the Snowy Peaks radio tower to where we found the abandoned truck, we find that it is now gone, most likely taken by MK on his search for Seb. That was Easy Delivery Co., a short but simple delivery game that truly captivated me the whole way through. From getting me attached to its lovable cast of characters, to investing me in its mysterious world and storyline, all the while having cozy yet fun gameplay that I just couldn't put down. The game showcases the lack of concern that large companies such as EasyCo has for the environment, due to their focus on profits over sustainability, and gives us a glimpse on the long-term effects it can have on the world. Unfortunately, this is something that is becoming closer to reality, with the fossil fuel industry being the largest contributor to climate change, and is only made worse through the rise of generative AI, causing more environmental decline. But anyway guys, that is all for today's video. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to catch you all in the next one.